Good afternoon. I hope all of you are there. It is slight change in the schedule in place of Dr. Modi. I'm taking today his class. Tomorrow he will be engaging my class, that is of HDL cholesterol. So today I'm going to deal with the demonstration about estimation of serum cholesterol. So this is as per your competency number 11.9. So what is the importance of this cholesterol? How it is being synthesized in the body? What are their important functions in the body? Where you find cholesterol and what are the different compounds obtained from this cholesterol? All these things are going to be dealt in detail in the theory classes. Already it is going on. I think this metabolism of lipid, you are learning importance of these lipids, fatty acids, triacylglycerols, and then this important sterol that you are going to learn, that is the cholesterol. So you will be learning about its detailed synthesis, transport, metabolism. Then comes about the lipoproteins, their metabolism, different types, LDL, HDL, VLDL, chylomicrons, all those things, and then how they are going to be utilized, how they are being transported in the body. All that are the aspects that are going to be dealt in the theory classes. But here we are going to understand the significance of this cholesterol, why it is important to know the levels of serum cholesterol, how it can be correlated, what are the guidelines that are given for maintaining the cholesterol level, and how it is going to be affected. All these points I am going to brief you in the following slides. So this, as you know, plasma lipids, they are including cholesterol, which is about 70% esterified with the fatty acids, and thus they are the largely polyunsaturated fatty acids. Then they also exhibit in the form of triacylglycerols, that is triglycerides, or neutral fats and phospholipids. Then esterified fatty acids also occur bound to albumin. Among these, cholesterol, triglyceride, phospholipids together with apoproteins are linked in varying proportion to form several lipoproteins that you are going to learn in detail. Now, out of these, we have to know the levels of this cholesterol, and there are certain methods also being developed for the measurement of the each lipoprotein fraction also. So we have the method for LDL determination, HDL determination, along with cholesterol, because earlier days only cholesterol was found to be significant clinically, but now we have many studies have reported that instead of going for only total cholesterol estimation, the fractions of these lipoproteins are also going to be helpful for knowing the major risk for cardiac events. So keeping that in mind, we have to look into this cholesterol. So this cholesterol, which is a major sterol synthesized in the body, and it has got important functions, that is, it is a precursor for synthesis of steroid hormones, bile acids, and vitamin D. So we have to maintain the normal levels of this cholesterol, and if you deprive of there is fad about dieting and all, that is all going to affect the levels of this cholesterol, and because of this there is going to be imbalance in the synthesis of the steroid hormones. It may affect synthesis of bile acids, vitamin D, and thus there will be the consequences on the health of the individual. So adequate quantities of these cholesterol means these fats or lipids are important in our body, and you know they are the next choice for energy. So during starvation and fasting, we get energy from these lipids, and that is why if there is and maximum amount of energy is being provided as compared to carbohydrates by these lipids. So around 4 kilocalories you get from 1 gram of carbohydrate, but from 1 gram of lipid you get around 9 kilocalories. So that is the importance of these lipids, and among these cholesterol is an important steroid which is synthesized in the body and necessary for synthesis of steroid hormones, bile acids and vitamin D. And hence we have to go for the analysis or measurement of this cholesterol in the serum, and for that reason we have to collect the blood sample. So let us understand how the sample is to be collected for the estimation of this cholesterol. So collection of the blood with anticoagulant is generally recommended, and the blood specimen without anticoagulant should be allowed to clot for 30 minutes at room temperature before centrifugation of the serum. So you have to collect the blood with anticoagulant, and without anticoagulant it should be allowed to clot at for 30 minutes at room temperature, and then you can centrifuge to collect the serum. So for cholesterol and triglyceride determination, samples may be stored at minus 15 degrees for several weeks if required. So it will be stable, or you can say you can use the stored samples also. But HDL cholesterol determination should be done ideally not to be frozen but kept at 4 degrees, and it has to be estimated within 7 days. So you cannot keep the sample for HDL cholesterol estimation for more than 7 days. Now once you collect the sample, you get the either plasma or serum. Visual inspection of that itself is going to give you valuable information. It is because chylomicrons, VLDL, which we are present, if they are in higher concentration in the sample, they have the tendency to scatter light and are responsible for the turbidity of the serum. So if you look at the serum, if you find it is turbid, it is definitely going to be helping you in the understanding that there is increased levels of this chylomicrons and VLDL in the sample of the patient. So, and for that reason, the sample has to be is kept in refrigerator overnight, and it is inspected against the black background. You have to check for its turbidity. Normally, the serum after 12 hours of overnight fast will not show any opalescence if we see by our eyes, but if there is increase in the chylomicron levels, if they are present in the sample, they will entirely float to the surface, forming a creamy layer. So you can very well demarcate that layer formed by the chylomicrons, and you can it is very visible. You can easily understand that it is the increased level of chylomicron in the sample. Now, how to collect the sample for analysis of the lipids? So we have to follow certain guidelines. We have to take some precautions. So these, because lipid levels are affected by various factors like diet, recent diet, alcohol consumption, exercise and medications. Especially those who are consuming the steroid drugs and women who are on oral contraceptives. Apart from that, lipid lowering drugs, if the person are taking statins and all, if they are taking in them, we have to restrict or give some instructions to the patient before collection of the sample, so that you get proper observations of the patient's lipid levels. So we have to keep in mind all these factors that are going to affect the estimation of the or the levels of the lipids in the patient. So prior to blood collection, the patient should be advised to avoid heavy exercise and alcohol for 48 hours. Consumption and major changes in diet also not to be done within this period. The patient should preferably report for collection of the sample after an overnight fast of around 12 to 14 hours. So always it is recommended that you have to collect the sample for lipid analysis after an overnight fast of about 12 to 14 hours. So the lipid analysis should be preferred at least 2 weeks after intercurrent illness and after 3 months after a major illness like myocardial infarction. So it is advised to check the lipid levels uh, after 3 months of MI. So lipid levels respond quite dramatically to postural changes also, and hence we have to make the patient comfortably seated at least 5 minutes before collection of the sample. And then you have to keep in mind prolonged venous stasis should be avoided as this can raise the lipoprotein concentration. So you have to take care of that also. Now, once you have collected the sample, for cholesterol estimation, total cholesterol we are talking about, then we will be learning the methods for estimation of the detail, or you can say fractioned LDL, HDL cholesterol fractions also. So for the cholesterol estimation, there are several methods which are based on either colorimetric method using strong acid solvents, automatic methods and enzymatic methods. All these are there. There are some problems in the methods for cholesterol estimation, especially because there will be interference of the colored pigments which are present in the body in the sample of the blood. So increased levels of those may affect these cholesterol estimation, especially colorimetric analysis is going to have the interference because of those interfering substances like concentration of hemoglobin above 600 milligram will interfere the test, and also the bilirubin concentration above 5 mg is going to interfere about in the colorimetric test. So more, and this colorimetric method was Zacks-Salkowski's method, and that is why the most suitable method will be the enzymatic assay. So, and that is specific also, as you know, enzymatic assays, because of substrate specificity of the enzyme, there is modification of all the estimations relying on the enzymatic methods. So now we will try to understand. We are also in the laboratories, we are preferring this enzymatic method for estimation of the cholesterol. So this cholesterol estimation can be done by the cholesterol oxidase peroxidase method. So that is abbreviated as Cod-Pod method. So this is estimation of cholesterol by Cod-Pod method. Some of the textbooks I have come across, they have mentioned this pod as Cod-Pap assay. So maybe it is peroxidase abbreviation they have written, but actually it will be cholesterol oxidase Cod and peroxidase pod. So it is the Cod-Pod assay for cholesterol estimation, which is an enzymatic method. Now the basic principle of this method will be the degradation of the substrate by the different enzymes. So it is a stepwise, multi-step, or you can say around 2 to 3 step reaction this is. So this stepwise there will be breaking of the cholesterol and the cholesterol ester which is present in the sample. It will be enzymatically hydrolyzed to release the free cholesterol and fatty acids. This is the first step by the cholesterol esterase enzyme. In the second step, this free cholesterol is oxidized by the enzyme cholesterol oxidase. Name itself is indicating it is the enzyme which oxidizes cholesterol. So cholesterol oxidase to form cholesterol 4N3-one, that is an intermediate chemical compound with the simultaneous production of hydrogen peroxide. So the cholesterol will be oxidized for the formation of this intermediate, and there will be release of H2O2. Now in the next step of the reaction, the third reaction, step reaction, This peroxidase enzyme, hydrogen peroxide, reacts with 4-amino antipyrine and phenolic compound to yield a red color complex, which is red. So ultimately we have to convert this reaction into at the end point a colored complex will be developed that can be read colorimetrically at 505 nanometers. So the intensity of this color produced is directly proportional to the concentration of total cholesterol present in the sample. So this is how this reaction can be simply mentioned here. So in the first step, this cholesterol ester acted upon by the enzyme, cholesterol esterase will be converted, cholesterol and fatty acids are released free. This cholesterol on action with oxidase will be oxidized by and for the formation of cholesterol and 3-1 intermediate, and there is liberation of H2O2. Now this H2O2 is acted upon by peroxidase in presence of phenolic compound and 4-amino antipyrine, that is 4-AAP, to form a color complex that is called as the red quinone, and water is released. Now this red color complex can be read at the particular wavelength, and from that you can get the amount of this cholesterol present in the sample by putting in the formula for calculation of the calorimetric estimations that we will see further. So the reagents which are used here are, it is the combination of ferric chloride acetic acid reagent. Then we need here concentrated acid H2SO4 and the standard cholesterol solution, ferric chloride acetic acid solution, that contains around 0.2 milligram of cholesterol in 5 ml. So this is about the reagents. Next comes the procedure. So here we have to take 3 clean test tubes, label them as T, S and B. As you know, T for test, S for standard and B for blank. So, and then we have to go on adding the reagent in the sequence shown here in the table. So cholesterol reagent of about 1 ml or 1000 microliter we have to add in all the 3 test tubes. Then, as the table shows, 10 microliter of distilled water in the test labeled as blank, cholesterol standard in the standard, the concentration of standard is 200 milligram per deciliter, and serum sample, and in which you are interested in knowing the range of the cholesterol, that you have to take around 10 microliter in the test. So this is your unknown sample. Next is, after addition of this sample and the reagent, you have to mix it well and incubate at room temperature or 37 degrees centigrade for 5 minutes. Wait for 5 minutes and then read the absorbance at 505 nanometer, or you can have the filter between this range, that will be green filter. So 505 is the preferably between this range. Next step is you have to note down the observations as OD of test, OD of standard and OD of blank. Now with these observations, that is optical densities that you get, you can put this in the formula for calculation, that is cholesterol in milligram per deciliter is equal to OD of test minus OD of blank upon OD of, this should be standard, sorry, OD of, you can do the correction, slide correction. So this is OD of standard minus OD of blank multiplied by 200. So this is the factor which is obtained by taking the concentration of standard into account and the effective volume of the sample that is used for this particular method. So last, in calcium estimation, we have learned how to calculate this multiplication factor, and that will be differing from the method to method depending on the volume that you are taking of the reagent, sample and all those things. So you have to multiply here for cholesterol estimation. The multiplication factor will be 200. So whatever optical densities you get, you put into the formula and calculate the amount of cholesterol and report it. So in the report you can write the concentration of the cholesterol in the given sample is how much milligram you get, that much you have to write. Next, we will try to understand about its clinical significance. So the normal range of this cholesterol, serum total cholesterol, is around 150 to 250 milligram per deciliter. Some books have given nowadays up to 280 milligram also, but we have on an average Indian population we have this 150 to 250 milligram per deciliter. Now further, now we have to be very specific. Recent guidelines that give the each serum fraction of the lipoprotein levels is going to be considered important for the diagnosis of metabolic syndrome and the risk factor for the cardiac diseases. But earlier it was only the total cholesterol which was taken into account. But nowadays we have to look into the levels of total cholesterol also. Then there are even taken the ratios of total cholesterol to LDL cholesterol, LDL to HDL ratio, total cholesterol to HDL ratio. So nowadays there is going these different studies or the committees, they have given the guidelines for maintaining the serum lipid levels in the desirable ranges. So this is one guideline that is called as NCEP ATP3 panel, that is the National Cholesterol Education Program Adult Treatment Panel 3. They have given the levels of lipid fractions which normally one should maintain. So these guidelines were earlier given in the year 2001. Later they have updated again in the 2004. So now we are following for cholesterol levels. We are all going to follow NCEP ATP3 guidelines. So you should also know that. Next, AHA, that is American Heart Association, also have given the levels for desirable levels for diagnosing or maintaining the patient or labeling him as a risk for cardiac disease, that is also given by AHA and ATP together. So this NCEP ATP3 guidelines, according to them, you should have the normal levels of triglyceride around 150 milligram per deciliter. Total cholesterol should be less than 200. So see, this range now it has come less than 200. LDL cholesterol should be less than 100, and HDL cholesterol lower side it should be up to 40 and higher side it should be up to 60. So it should be between 40 to 60, and then you are going to have good cholesterol levels in the body. So we have to follow these guidelines, and if there is derangement in these fractions, they will be called as, or they are going to be the risk factors for metabolic syndrome. So this metabolic syndrome will be leading for the diabetes and related consequences. So always it is advised to maintain the levels in these particular in these levels of different lipids should be maintained in the given levels. So after knowing how we are going to maintain these lipid levels in the different ranges, that we have to take into account, because the cholesterol levels are affected by various factors, as we have seen earlier also. So physiological causes for that will be, first is diet itself. So if you are continuously consuming fried things or increased intake of this dalda ghee, that is saturated fatty acid, it is going to affect the levels of cholesterol. Increased intake of unsaturated fatty also affects. Consumption of excess carbohydrates will lead to the formation of more and more fatty acids and cholesterol. Regular consumption of onion and garlic extracts, nicotinic acid and fibers in diet lowers the cholesterol. So all these factors, and apart from that, the physical exercise is going to affect the levels of the cholesterol. So these are the physiological causes for levels affecting either increase or decrease. So this garlic and onion extract, they are found to be helping in the decreasing cholesterol level. So they are used for the treatment of hypercholesterolemia, so to reduce the cholesterol levels in the blood. And next comes the pathological causes, that is termed as, so the levels of cholesterol beyond the normal range will be called as the hypercholesterolemia. And there are reasons for hypercholesterolemia, that is diabetes mellitus, obstructive jaundice due to blockage of the excretion, and then hypothyroidism, where you will find the receptors on liver is reduced due to decreased thyroid hormones. Also, in case of nephrotic syndrome, there will be lack of the receptors on the liver. That is also going to one of the reason for hypercholesterolemia. To add to the list, you have to remember about nephrotic syndrome also. So these are the reasons, pathological causes for hypercholesterolemia. And in hypercholesterolemia, you have thyrotoxicosis, pernicious anemia, hemolytic anemia, malabsorption syndrome, severe liver diseases, and there are inherited hypolipoproteinemias, where you will find there is increase in the levels of cholesterol. And now this chart gives you the risk based on total cholesterol and LDL cholesterol. So this is for the heart disease. So heart disease classification risk based on the total and LDL cholesterol. So it is always given the ranges which are called as desirable are less than 200 for total cholesterol and LDL cholesterol less than 230. Borderline to, I think it should be 130. Maybe typing makes it should be 130, not 230. Make slight corrections. So this we have to make as 130. So this is LDL cholesterol to be kept as 130. Next is the borderline to high risk is between 200 to 239, and here it is 130 to 159. And if it is more than 240 for total cholesterol and more than 160 for LDL cholesterol, it is going to be called as the risk for the cardiac diseases. So immediately you have to advise the patient to do lifestyle modification, dietary changes, or in case even after doing this, after second visit, if you find it is not going to be maintained, then you have to start the patient or put the patient on lipid lowering drugs. So this is how you can monitor the patient, or the screening of the patients or the population. You will give you idea about the risk for cardiac disease based on the levels of total cholesterol and LDL cholesterol, because LDL cholesterol is considered as a bad cholesterol, so you have to monitor the levels of this LDL cholesterol. Why and how, that you are going to learn in the theory class in detail. Okay. So far we have understood the clinical importance and all those things. Now, apart from the enzymatic methods, we have mentioned that there are several methods, other methods, which are helpful, or they are also important in estimation of the total cholesterol. So the methods are named as one-step method, enzymatic endpoint method that we have learned, two-step method, three steps method. So they are different steps where you have to use different chemicals, organic phases, solvent extractions, and like that. Based on that, we have one step method, that is direct procedure carried out on serum or plasma without any solvent extraction. Next, that we have learned today, that is Codpod method, which is based on enzymatic endpoint method, where you get the colored substance in the next step. Next two step are called as ZAC or car-director blur method, introduction of an organic phase extraction step before measurement of the cholesterol. So before going here, additional step, you have to treat the sample with organic phase extraction step. And then the three-step test, also called as Lieberman-Burchard method, given by Abel et al. In addition to organic phase extraction, a saponification step that hydrolyzes fatty acid moiety is also added in this step. So the difference between the different methods of estimation of cholesterol is given here, and because it is more specific, we have restricted to, or most of the automated analyzers, they are working on the enzymatic endpoint method for cholesterol estimation. So this is, you should know why and how the cholesterol estimation is important and why it is to be carried out. So this is all about today's demonstration. Next, ultimately this estimation is to know the conditions of hypercholesterolemia and hypocholesterolemia, so that the management can be easy for the reducing the risk for cardiac events. So this is about today's demonstration. Next, I am hoping you to meet all of you physically here in the laboratory soon, so we can, now most probably today and tomorrow is your last online present or class, hence onwards there will be physical, or the classes will be conducted. Okay, see you soon in the laboratory. Come prepared for all the assays and everything. Okay, so this correction you have to do. Read related aspects of this. Okay, fine, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.